Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to invite everyone to be seated as our event will begin shortly. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. A very good morning to Mr. Hasnain Zafar Baloch, Manager of E-Learning Department. Our speaker for today, Dr. Muhammad Saiful Bahri Yusof from Department of Medical Education, School of Medical Science, University Science Malaysia. Ms. Zuhanariah Muhammad Nordin, Chief Librarian of IMU Library. Dearest lecturers, fellow colleagues from other departments, and our guests from UPSI, and to all who are here today. First and foremost, we would like to thank everyone for allocating your busy schedule to attend this event. Okay, for your information, this session broadcasts live on e-learning YouTube channel. Without further ado, I would like to introduce the first speaker, Dr. Muhammad Saiful Bahri Yusof. Dr. Muhammad Saiful Bahri Yusof is from Department of Medical Education. He will be sharing his experience and knowledge in his talk titled The Future of Medical Education. Let's grab some tips or two from his talk and turn our learning experience into a meaningful experience. Now, with much honor, I would like to invite Dr. Muhammad Saiful Bahri Yusof to give his talk on the future of medical education.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And very good morning to everyone. Thank you for the organizer, for this opportunity for me to share something on topic, something that is a futuristic topic. But let's see how futuristic it is. And then maybe you can, we can interact. Maybe you can give your opinion as well on whatever that I will share today based on based on the literature, evidence, theory, reports, mass media, my own research, my own observation, and my own experience dealing with the medical education for the past 1 decade. Okay, so perhaps I think you look so young. I think you are students. Yeah, you are the future basically. And at the back looks not that young, but still young. Maybe the lecturers. Okay, so okay, that's a good combination. And let's see how my inputs will benefit across the different youngness. Okay, so now, and when we are talking about future, we must realize that future is unpredictable. Uh, we must we must bear in mind to predict future is very difficult because of the volatility of the future, the complexity of the future, and then in terms of ambiguity of the future, and last but not least, the uncertainty of the future. But we can build the future based on certain scenarios. So what I'm giving you and I'm sharing you is the different scenarios that will lead us to the future. Okay, is that fine to everyone? Okay, so I'm not going to tell you something that is beyond our not our territory, but it's within our territory and capability to discuss about the future. So guided by certain scenario. Oh, sorry. Okay, so medical education in Malaysia. So when we are looking at the future, we need to learn from the history, from the past. So I'm going to talk about what were the past, and then how the past will inform us today, and how today can we move together to the future based on certain things, certain events, certain factors, pulling factors that will lead us to a new destination. Okay, so I'm talking about the past first. Okay. Oh, sorry. So I need to change the way. Okay, now I think it's better. Yes. Okay. Okay. There's a maybe the territory is just up to here. Okay, so the past. Okay, now I'm sharing you something that was written clearly in our higher education department and published, and everyone can access. So I will pick up from there, and there will be 6 areas that I can summarize for us to consider and to think and reflect on. Oh, exactly, that was planned, and now you can see it today. Okay, so basically there are 6 areas that was covered in this report. Everyone can access it. Just go to Kementerian Pendidikan Tinggi previously, but now is Ministry of Education, and you can download. Just type in the Google Hala 7 Pendidikan Perubatan Malaysia, you can download it and then easily to read in Bahasa Melayu. Okay, and then there are 6 things that I'm covering: medical curriculum, student selection, Moratorium medical program, and then talents in medical school, public-private medical school cooperation, and liberation of education sector and health services. So there are 6 areas that I'm going to cover, and perhaps you can learn something. How many of you read this before? The young one maybe expected, but the not that young one. Okay, maybe this is the first time. Okay, I think there's a good way of sharing, something that happened before, and now we realize because of that, we see it today. We see it today. Now, let's start with the first theme, medical curriculum. There are 3 important plans for today. Okay, the first one is about flexible and relevant curriculum to regular curriculum reviews. That's why nowadays you can see that the movement from the traditional to more flexible curriculum in our medical program, because in 2010 they already planned for that, and you can see the impact and the output and the outcome in this session, in this current era. MD, PhD or double degree curriculum. Do you see any of university have this? None. It means that there are certain mission in the past have not yet achieved, but they are going toward that even now. Double degree, MD, PhD because of certain reason. And then establish medical school to develop medical curriculum for graduate entry. Do you know any university in Malaysia accept graduate entry? Those already have degree and allowed to apply for medical school? IMU, Perdana, previously none. So this is the impact of the history, of the past, that we can see it now. Okay, so it means that the future can be predicted if you know the scenario. Okay, there is a one angle, and these are three most important consensus that the report have shared with us. Okay, the second one, medical student selection. There are only two plans that were, that were reported, the most important. One is the systematic selection process to assess academic and non-academic attributes. I believe we are doing that. IMU, private or public, they are doing that. Looking at not only academic, but they are looking at non-academic attribute as well. Okay, the impact is on today practice. The second one, create a task force to propose the attributes for the student selection process. I think we are doing that as well. We are looking what are the attributes that need to be considered when we want to select future medical students. We call it four flat, but we are looking at other attributes as well that give you more merit to become medical students. So these are the impacts of the previous plan on today. Now let's look at the moratorium medical program. There are 6 things here that I would like to share and to highlight that you can see now. Oh, okay, that's the reason why it's happened now. 1, reinforce moratorium for new medical schools. After 2010, there is no more medical school built up. The last one, I think, Perdana, or maybe in Johor New Med. After that, no more medical schools. And in fact, in terms of intake per academic year, is limited to the same numbers of students. Just like USM, from I think up to 200. Maybe IMU up to 200 maybe. And maybe UNIZA up to 60. No increment. They stop taking more medical students, and no more medical school is allowed to be built. Because of that, moratorium. They call it moratorium. And then every medical school should have its own hospital for teaching. This we call it university teaching hospital. They were talking this since 2010. And now I just, walk in the, what you call it, in the area of student area. You call it student area? The ground floor? Or atrium, we call it atrium. I saw IMU teaching hospital will be built by 2021. Oh, okay, that's very good. With 64, is it patient beds? 64 beds, isn't it? Something like that. And in fact, many of public university already going for teaching hospital, and started with UM and USM. After that, UKM, UPM, and now UMS, as well as UPNM, University Pertahanan, is also going for having university teaching hospital because of this plan. And the movement is very active. Now, let's understand today, what's happened today is actually because of the past. Okay? And then, upgrade Ministry of Health Hospital to teaching hospital to support medical training. That's why the, many of government hospitals supporting training of medical students, regardless either you're private or public, because of this report. They open up. Just like, I think, IMU in Seremban, isn't it? Previously, USM in Hospital Kota Baru as well. It's part of our teaching hospital. So they open up because of the report. And then the fourth one, empower the Council of Dean of Medicine by creating Deputy Director General Medical Health post in Ministry of Higher Education. This is, I think, did not achieve the target. We don't have that kind of post in higher education. Even higher education now is combined with Ministry of Education. So I think this one is still in whole. A systemic approach to appoint part-time medical lecturer by private medical school. I think there is something IMU know better than me. There are certain ways of hiring part-time lecturers from public university that's happening to support the growth of medical training in the private sector. Okay? And then enhance the potential of medical education Malaysia to support local needs and attract international students. That's why you can see right now, not even for private, but even for public university, we open up at least 10% of the place for the international students. So the movement is very active due to some reason. They already predicted based on 2010, we are 2018, most of this is happening. Okay, so we learn from the past. It's very interesting. Now, let's move another level. Oh, sorry. Yeah, talent in medical school. There are 5 things the talent of medical school they are talking about. One is about university academic and national support to academic staff welfare and career. I think previously certain university in terms of promotion whatsoever is very strict. Right now it's becoming more, not less strict, but it's fairer to the academic staff as well as for the staff in the university. So I think that's the movement behind that. And the redefined academic loads in medical school. That's why there are certain medical school now actually using CGPA because they want to measure the academic loads, carried by medical students. Because they are worried about how much students have learned that will burn them down due to so many things. That's why they are redefined academic loads. And now I think if you are aware that we are using student learning time to measure the workload of students and to actually gauge how much students have learned so far and perhaps that is not so underload but not to overload. Just nice load for you to carry out the task. So I think this is the movement. The impact is now. And then the third one, introduce a time-based career pathway. I think there is very much on the public sector rather than private sector. It's time-based. That's why now medical lecturers are enjoying the time-based promotion on top of certain criteria promotion. Okay, so because of this. And measure to boost motivation of medical. That's why they are now looking up so many ways on how to make medical lecturers happy. But let us, one question to medical lecturers, are you happy? Looks happy, okay? That for sure looks happy. The rest, I don't know. Looks happy, okay? See, looks happy, everyone happy. Smiling. Okay, but inside, only God knows. Okay, number 4, in terms of talent, introduce attractive incentive for basic science lecturers. Okay, now, I think there is something very true even now, because basic science lecturer, we call it non-clinician lecturers, always get less in terms of promotion whatsoever compared to the clinical lecturers. And that's why this field is not so attractive, and the difficulty from the administrative point of view is to get those who are qualified, particularly for the local qualified, expert basic science lecturers. Very difficult because it's not so popular, and not many medical students are aware of, oh, there is basic science medical lecturers. There are no only pediatrician, orthopedic, surgeon, and many more, because they are more attractive incentive for that pathway compared to the basic science lecture. That's why we are actually lacking of anatomists, physiologists, and many more. And we have 29 medical schools. They are actually competing each other to grab the small cakes left for us. That is the reality. So now they are looking at how to promote people to become basic science lecturers so that we can fill the vacuum that we like. So that's something. And then the last one about talent, standardize the academic promotion practice across medical school. And if you realize, there are certain medical schools are so easy to promote their staff, but there are certain medical schools are so stringent. I don't want to say any medical school, but they are. So the practice between medical school across private or public is not standardized, and therefore, okay, there are pulling factor, there are pushing factor that make lecturers move around. The mobility of medical lecturers across medical schools. Okay, so there are a lot of implications of this, but you can see that there are certain lecturers are so mobile. They're moving from one to another and getting better incentive. Okay, so these are the 5 things related to talents in medical school based on the report. So I hope that so far you can connect with the reality, what the past and what is now, before we go to the future. Is that okay so far? So far so good? Okay. Now, let's move to the 5th area. Public-private medical school cooperation. Let's see how far we have achieved and how far the outputs have been seen. Okay, the first one, faculty development program to support medical lecturers' career. I think this is something that is happening because the faculty development across the medical school is doing very well. Because we are sharing our information, we are sharing our expertise and many more, just to ensure that medical lecturers are competent enough to be a teacher. I think we are moving that direction, very good. Promote sharing of education resource, I think one of example is today. One of the examples, there's a very good way of sharing resources to ensure that everybody get equal access, okay, to the best resource that we can offer to our medical faculties and also non-medical faculties. I think this is very, very happening now. And the third one, increase quality and standard of medical education through MQA, MMC. I think there is a very popular among our medical school. We know MQA, we know MMC, because they are the one who verify and giving certain certificate for us to continue offering our program to medical students. Without that certification, we are nowhere. And even now, I think just on 8, I think just 4 days ago, I think 3 days ago, we had a meeting with the stakeholders revealing the new standards for undergraduate medical education. The new standard, which is simpler, concise, and hopefully practical. Okay, so they are moving, and I think they aim to implement the new standard for undergraduate medical education guideline or standards just now by the end of this year or maybe early next year. So there's a moving because they are planning for that for the past 8 years. They're improving, refining to ensure that we are up to date and relevant to the current scenario, which is more on technology-driven era. Okay? And the fourth one, enhance collaborative activities in medical education across medical school. I think we have done a lot. Okay? Example today. We take everyone who have some experience or knowledge or sources and share with everybody and record it and put on YouTube. I think that's a good way of sharing things. And last but not least, increase quality and standard of postgraduate medical education. And even now, for the medical education at the postgraduate level, they are looking for just like undergraduate. They are looking at standard for postgraduate education, and I think now is heading by University Malaya. UM is heading toward increased quality and standard of program, postgraduate medical education. So people are moving and the standards are also increasing because of the demand as well as the expectation of perhaps the future today. This is the past, the future is actually today. And what is our next today? That is still uncovered. Now, the sixth one, liberation of education sector and health services. There is something that I can pick up from the increased undergraduate and postgraduate training to support local and global needs. If you can see that, after this report, we can see that there are a lot of postgraduate training local and at the local sites to meet the global agenda. And IMU is one of that. You have so many partnerships. You are going for global. And even for the USM as well, we have offshore campus in Belgaum. Because why? Because we are looking for the global agenda as well to cater the needs of international. And number two, related to this, attract international doctors and specialists through a robust yet realistic screening system. That's why nowadays you can see that there are more foreign doctors come to the Malaysia, particularly in medical education sector, because the movement is needed to fill the vacuum that we left, because we are still yet looking for human resource to cater 29 medical schools need in Malaysia. So we need a lot more. And perhaps the young generation could fill in the blank in the future. Okay, we are leaving the blank because we are retiring very soon. Not me, maybe the rest of others. And then establish offshore medical campuses to promote experience in technology transfer. This is something that happening in Malaysia. One of the earlier example is USM. We have offshore program in Belgaum because of this report. And they allow us to do. And actually they really encourage for us to put ourselves in at international level. Rather than to import, but we export our medical education program to the rest of the world. But still, we are moving toward that. Student exchange for the credit transfer industrial training should be fostered. So you can see that through your, in USM we have elective. I think you have certain student exchange program and many more, isn't it? Because why? Because we want to enrich your learning experience at different background of culture, setting, and healthcare experience. So I think that is something that they really want students to go beyond than Malaysia. And then encourage collaboration between local and international university. I think we have done that. IMU is one of the very good example. You have how many partners? More than 20 partners, isn't it? Or less? I think more. Isn't it more? 20 partners. I think that is very good example of this. And leverage on technology to reduce cost and increase education efficiency. So now, you can see right now, even though you are here, but there are others audience outside the classroom who are watching this. Because why? Because we want to leverage on technology to ensure that everybody can learn at certain, efficient cost. So these are the 6 areas that we have learned from the past. Okay. Now let us learn. Okay, that's the past. Okay. Now we can see. Oh, okay. Now that's why certain things happening today. And they are moving toward today, from 2010, 2018. Now, what are the current? What are the current one? Okay. Now, can you guess what the current one? In the Malaysia setting. Not international setting, I'm focusing on Malaysia setting. Any guess? Okay, no need to guess. Let me give you. Okay. Sorry. Have you seen this one? Framing Malaysian Higher Education 4.0. Anyone? Oh, this is a very good session. I'm sharing a lot. Okay? So now, there are 4 areas for Malaysian Higher Education 4.0. And when they're talking about Higher Education 4.0, including medical education. Okay? So, we are talking about future-ready curriculum. Okay? We are talking about the agile governance. We are talking about talent planning, and last but not least, research and innovation. Okay, so perhaps there is something interesting to discuss. Okay, let's start with the future-ready curriculum. Oh, sorry. There are 4 main things in future-ready curriculum based on the report. The report just published early of this year, 2018. Launched by, I think by our minister, previous minister, before the election. Okay, so in terms of future-ready curriculum, so what they really push all the higher education providers is about redesign higher education initiative. There is where they are looking for e-learning, MOOC, gap years, aggregation of prior special learning, e-portfolio, workplace-based, and many more. Because of this, you can see that now people are moving toward that. They really leverage the technology to enhance learning experience of medical students as well as non-medical students. They really meant for business. And then fluid and organic curriculum. This is something that we call it flexible and non-conventional curriculum that can be adapted and shaped in order to respond to the changing world. We call it. So the flexibility and non-conventional curriculum is coming again. Even though in the past already said clearly, but now the momentum is gaining more and more. And transformative teaching and learning delivery. If you can see right now, I think many medical students are trying out team-based learning, flipped classroom, and many more active learning strategies. And how about IMU? Do you have team-based learning? Definitely. What else do you have? Flipped classroom? Yes. Blended learning? Yes. And yes, 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 yes. Okay, the rest is yes, yes, yes. And including the public university is moving toward that as well, because we are in the fourth industrial revolution. And then the last one is alternative assessment. What do we mean by alternative assessment? It's no longer assessing your cognitive ability. No. It's about your performance base. And they are moving toward personalized assessment. They are monitoring your achievement. And perhaps at the end of the day, they are looking at your profiling of competency based on the assessment. I think I saw something in IMU that you are profiled according to something, attributes. Is that? Do you have any profiling? What is your communication skill level? What is your clinical skill level? How good you are taking history taking? How well you behave? And many more. They are mapping, they are mapping. And previously it's about ICGPA. Remember the ICGPA. But now ICGPA is depending on the university to take it or to leave it. It's depending on the university. But there is the whole story about alternative assessment. They are not looking at your knowledge or cognitive, but they are more than that. They are more than that. Okay. Any questions so far? Clear? Okay. Let's move to agile governance. This is not much related to the students, but very much related to the institution. Okay, institution, to ensure that whatever has been planned can be executed exactly, okay, based on the plan. And digital ethics and values. This is not talking about only ethics and values, but digital. Have you encountered that a case whereby a young female doctors having selfie with a mother who are giving birth, That is, call it digital ethics and value, and posted on Facebook. That is happening. I think that was in 2015. So based on that case, I think they are now giving more emphasis on digital ethics and values. So I hope there's no more case after that. And then ACE delivery. It means that in terms of the delivery of the program must be smooth, speed, and efficient. There are no more bureaucracy. But unfortunately, we are still struggling. Particularly when international students want to come to Malaysia, they start with a lot of difficulty in getting visa and so on and so forth. So the transition is still in the progress. Smart campus. I think, do you think IMU is smart campus? No, definitely yes, isn't it? Otherwise, recorded, everything recorded. No, I think it is smart campus. You know why? Because you have the infrastructure. I think a lot of QR code around the campus. You know it's a QR code? Definitely you know because you are younger than me. Okay? And then increase connectivity, see? Even though your friends are not here, but actually your friends are watching. Watching you, not watching me, watching you. Okay, and then direct access to international learning and teaching network. I think that is, that is reality right now. You have so many Coursera, you have MOOC, you have so many things that you can just click on the Google, put what you want to learn, and you will get the results. The connectivity is really, really fluid. Okay, and we are actually wired through our smartphone. Do you know that every movement can be tracked through smartphone? Even the smartwatch, not only smartphone, smartwatch, track everything. So be careful, guys. Okay, put it on off mode if you don't want to be tracked, but still can be tracked, Okay, so live somewhere, Don't bring your smartphone. Autonomous governance. So I think this is something that we call autonomy, co-regulatory, self-regulatory, and now I think this is something they are thinking about. They are thinking about, and definitely for the private, do not have a lot of problem with autonomy, but for the public university, we are still yet getting the autonomy, full autonomy, and sustainability. Oh, okay, the format is quite a bit changed here, and then sustainability is something we need to ensure that whatever we do now is always at least similar in the future. Or maybe future is better than now. That's we want to leave something better for our next generation. Now, about the research and innovation. Okay, I think I don't want to spell so much on this because we already know about the research and innovation, but the emphasis is on infusing digital technology in every spectrum in research. So this is something, a new thing. You need to infuse technology in your research. Translational research, not only good for you, but also good for community. This is very important. Research alliance and partnership. I think we have a lot of alliance, a lot of cooperation between lecturers across public and private university in terms of the research. We have done that. And commercialization of research and innovation, we are yet not reaching what we are expected to reach, because commercialization and innovation is something difficult and need more times and need more fun actually. So there's something. And last but not least, talent planning. And basically, this is something they are looking at the academia. Okay, this is about new values-driven academia, something new. Because when the digital era comes, do medical lecturers prepare for that? The youngest one, I think they are not so much bothered about the digital skill, but not that young one, okay, always having difficulty in dealing with the digital skill. But I think more and more faculty development is prepared for them to improve and upgrade their skills in using technology for teaching, for learning, for research, and many more. And there is something, cognitive flexibility. Not only curriculum must be flexible, but ourselves, the cognitive ability must be flexible enough for us to learn something new. And while we are specializing in our own area, for example, we are orthopedic surgeon, not only that, but we must explore other functional skills that will help us to become a better medical lecturers or medical teachers. So there is something, I think there is some challenge to the medical lecturers to cope and to catch up with the technology advancement in teaching and learning. So now we have done past, okay. We know now, okay, this is the current one, and actually they are planning for the future. So now what is our future? Okay, what is our future? Okay. Do you any smart guess? What will be our future? Technology. Okay. Looks okay. Technology. Very good. Any more? Robot. Okay. I think that is very quite substantial now. It's robotic. Any more? Augmented reality, yes, and then virtual reality and many more. Okay, I think at least we can see that everything about technology. Now augmented reality, robots, and technology. So everything about technology. Now, okay, for your information, okay, this is based on the recent studies that I did with the team of higher education policy studies. It seems that the future is about human techno interaction. So we need to become part of the robot or robot become part of us. Okay, either way, or maybe Android. Okay, so this is where the industrial revolution, they put it first, second, third, and we are now at digitalization. But the future is about personalization because of the advancement of technology, because there are assistant, robotic assistant, and many more. We need to integrate our capacity as well as with the artificial intelligence capacity to enhance our education. Okay, so we need to go hand in hand to ensure that our future is brighter, not darker. Okay. Okay, this is a quite recent study and the road toward better education in personalized medicine at university and beyond. So one of the main message from this article is personalized medicine is the future. Okay, thinking of that, so how would be our medical education? Something toward that as well. Because when personalized medicine, we need to cater our curriculum to prepare our future graduates to become a personalized medical doctor, something like that, who can treat the patient as a whole. Okay, because every patient have their own unique profiles or maybe unique personalities. And perhaps now the move of personalization of medication is getting more and more because of four things. One, because human technology relations. Okay, there's one of the major factor that will lead to personalization of medical education. And then technology enhanced education. There's something that, using technology to enhance our teaching and learning as well as our assessment. And then values-driven education. Even though we are talking about technology, people are more worried about the values. Are we going to be a robot as well? And people are talking about education without soul. Because why? Because of the robot. And yesterday, when I was in the Global Higher Education Forum yesterday, there are one of symposium, they call it student voice. Student voice. And the moderator asked the student, if you have the robot and very strict lecturers, which one do you choose? It is, very, okay, you have robots, yeah, the robot can teach you everything as well, and you have very strict medical lecturers who can teach you everything as well. So which one? And you know what? Spontaneously, the students say, lecturers. See? Why? They say that we are human, we want to be touched by the human too, not the robot. We need a human touch, but with high tech. Human touch, but with high tech. Okay, that's quite interesting note from the student voice yesterday. So I think that's quite, the values-driven education. It's not about the knowledge alone, but actually what the values of education can offer to the students in the future. So, and the last one is about sustainable education. And now if you are aware that even at, sustainable goal development, something like that. So they are looking for sustainable education as well, because we need to ensure that whatever education we offer in the future is similar or much better than now. That's the whole story about sustainable. Whatever you leave for the next generation must be better, not worse. So that is something, because of this, the personalization of medical education is most probably to be in the future. So based on that, I think what I can propose, we can call it personalized medical education. Perhaps. And what are the characteristics of the personalized medical education? And when I read through literature from Gabriel, Haddon, and from my own research as well, I can summarize into 7 characters. Okay, what are those? Okay, let's see. And please let me know whether you are disagree or agree. Okay, after I share all the 7 elements. Okay, the first element, simulation-based preparation for practice. It means that we need to prepare our future doctors based on simulation in the first day before they can practice. And don't forget, they are student-centered, because it's a personalized medical education. Okay. The second one is about portfolio-based monitoring, and this should be problem-based. It means that based on the problems they encounter during the clinical practice as a student. So they are monitoring competency of the student based on the problem they encounter through portfolio. And the third one is individualized workplace learning. That's why I think nowadays we are thinking about moving from just walk around, normal walk around or bedside teaching. We are moving towards shadow housemanship. It's more on apprenticeship kind of training. I think IMU have some kind of, for the last 6 months, you ask the final year student to become just like houseman, isn't it? You are doing a lot of houseman chores whatsoever for the last 6 months, is it? Senior clerkship, you call it, yes. And now even in UM, you also have print, I think, pre-internship training period, maybe. So at the last, maybe 3 months or 4 months. And USM, we have shorts. It's not shorts. Short is, we call it schedule house officer training system, something like that, for the whole year of final year. So basically, we are moving toward individualized workplace learning. We want them to really experience becoming as houseman later on, as the real doctors. So this is a moving toward that. And competency-based and values-based medical education. And I think this is something is very, very true, because nowadays we are looking at competence, not only competence, what the values you have as a future doctors. So this is the 4th thing. And then, believe me, the electronic media and online support will be more and more in the future to support the learning needs of our future medical students. And this must be also is elective. Wherever you go, no matter where you are, you can still access the same resource for you to learn as your colleague in the campus. This moving toward that. And then number 6 is about structured workplace-based assessment, because now you are actually learning in the workplace. Definitely you need to be assessed in the workplace as well. And it must be systematic. It's not only structured, but it must be systematic. You need to design. We need to design on how our curriculum will be catering those competencies at the end of the program. And last but not least, I think the most important is sustainability and spiral in nature. Because sustainable medical education is must there, because simulation is not cheap. Then we need to be more creative on what are the low-cost simulation-based training, workplace-based training that are sustainable enough for us to continue for, for a longer term or maybe forever, and becoming better and better to reduce the cost, not only the cost, but improve the learning experience of our future medical students. So these are the 7 things that I can come out, that I can pick up from those literatures. And I think it's very much relevant to the needs of the current and perhaps the future of medical education. Okay, so, and what are the impacts of personalized medical education? We need to think. Because when we change into something from now to in the different form, there must be impacts. So the impacts will be changing roles of medical teachers, definitely. Definitely. Are we ready as a medical lecturers to embrace the change in the future with all those commitments? Okay, that's one question. And then the second one, the change in competence of graduates. What kind of competency we expect the graduates will have at the end of the program. And not only competence, what are the rules of graduates during learning? The rules of the student during learning. Definitely they are no longer, who are receiving the information only. Maybe they are the producer of the content as well of their own learning journey. That's something, And then modes of teaching and delivery, I think there will be change as well. Definitely, when you move toward that, the changing in teaching and learning delivery can't be avoided. It must be hand in hand. Change in medical syllabus and curriculum. There are certain things we need to restructure, to redesign, to ensure that the flow and then the connection between one level to another level in the spiral mode, from the basic to the complex skill, to achieve what we meant for personalized medical education. And then mode of assessment, and the most important is shift in governance and educational policy. Because without those change in governance and education policy, the personalized medical education won't happen in our curriculum, even though this is the future. There is something, personalized medical education with those characteristics. So I think once we are looking at the future, this is a scenario, so perhaps the more thinking we need to have on how to cater all this need in the future. Any questions so far? Am I giving clear, loud and clear message? Yet in a simple form? Okay. Any questions? At what time now? Am I reaching my limit? 10:30. Now? Now 10:30. Oh, 10:30, okay. Your watch, my watch not yet. Okay, never mind. No. Okay, now, perhaps, now, I have showed you the past and current and future. I hope now we are having a good balance of looking at, okay, what can be learned from the past. Now we are here, and actually there are certain plans for the future, and actually the future is like this. And perhaps we can plan ahead what we are going to do as a students, as a lecturers, as an administrators, or maybe as the person who are controlling the system. Okay, so final note from me. Before, these are 3 things that I would like to emphasize. Personalization of medical education is coming to our door. Okay, either in the health profession or in its education system, it will come in. And then the vision of future must be very clear, because we want to enhance the capacity of delivery, and bring out the best in people. Once we have the clear vision, we want to ensure that the delivery is enhanced, and then the people get the best and they can unleash the potential. And last but not least, remember, this is only future scenario. So basically, it's a learning journey. We learn through scenario, and we path our way through the scenario, but it is not forecast. Remember, this is not forecast. Okay, this is not about forecast. We are not forecasting anything, but we are describing what will be the future will be looks like. And hopefully, when we are monitoring our own future, based on the future scenario, we can plan better, and perhaps we can also challenge this future scenario, whether it is having external validity or not, in terms of when it's come to the real practice in our reality. So I think if no more, I think this is the best moment. Thank you. Do you have any questions or maybe thoughts you would like to share?
Because medical education now is already quite expensive. So if you produce this kind of personalized healthcare, personalized of medical education, it seems to me that in future, wow, even more expensive lah to set treatment. Of course, like lecturers will benefit, like they will.
But now, how much it costs? Less than 2,000. And in the future, believe me, the cost will be much reduced. Looking at the trend, the pattern, and the accessibility to all these gadgets will be at lower cost. And perhaps looking at the personalized medication, looking at the cost wise, maybe same or maybe a little bit reduced. Or maybe if you can create or maybe innovate certain thing that low cost simulation that will be even much cheaper than now. And now people in the area of simulation-based medical education, they are looking at what is the most affordable simulation-based training for the future. There are a lot of ongoing things on that. With the technology becoming more and more accessible, there are a lot of people are looking at lowering costs in terms of efficiency, delivering, and as well as how to bring out the best to the people. I believe, looking at this scenario, the cost may be more or less similar, but we have a better quality training. That is my personal way of looking at those advancements. But we don't know in the future what's happened. Maybe war and scenario already. That's my opinion. Maybe anyone would like to add on that note? Do I make sense? Just wondering, do I make sense whatever I've presented just now? Can you follow what I presented just now? From the past, how it moved to the current one, you can understand what's happening now actually based on the past plan, and the current one is actually going for the future, and the future will be look like this. If you can see that clearly, I think I already did my job. Okay? No more question, I think. So thank you very much for having me and giving me opportunity to share some thoughts on the future of medical education in Malaysia, and hopefully you have learned, and also I have learned as well while teaching you and sharing you, because when I talk, I think, do I make sense? But at least looking at your reaction, yeah, still in the same. Okay, thank you very much, and look forward for future, for future collaboration. Assalamualaikum and good morning.
Thank you, Dr. Muhammad Saiful Bahari Yusof, for the wonderful knowledge sharing. Now, I would like to invite Associate Professor Dr. Kang Yu Bang to present a token of appreciation. Just to remind everyone, there are two announcements here. First announcement, after this there will be two workshop session in library computer area presented by Vinny Stocker Kunoi. The title is Learning Analytic, and another workshop session this evening is about basic information literacy license presented by Mr. Razman Shah. And the second announcement, there will be an award giving ceremony at 12:30 noon for e-learning license, Tan Sri Abu Bakar Sulaiman Award, Adam Anatomy Online Quiz Competition, Life Size Pac-Man Challenge, Wiley Search Share and Win Quiz, and Elsevier Online Quiz. We have come to end of our session today. With that said, I bid adieu and thank you. Thank you everyone for coming.